Welcome to Humanist Views, a program where we look at current issues from a humanist point of view. I'm Scott Lohman. On tonight's program, we're going to take a look at some things that have been in the news, both for the year 2012 that were in when this show is being taped, and things that happened in 2011 where people are predicting the end of the world. And we're kind of wondering, okay, so what end are we talking about? What's going to end and start, and where does it fit in? And just where did the concept of where does the end of the world come from get started? So coming in, especially when we talk about the long look at things, bring in Dr. Mark Welter. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Scott.
Glad to have you back, because you're going to give us a long look at how we do this, because world history doesn't just start when the people when they came over to the country. It goes back a lot further, and some of these concepts go back a long ways, don't they?
Very long ways. The oldest records we have in history, written records, is the Sumerians. They wrote on cuneiform, and about 3,000 years BCE, better known as BC, we have the oldest story on the survival and the end of the world and survival thereof. Mm-hmm. It didn't start in 2011.
Okay, that's good.
It started with the Epic of Gilgamesh, a Sumerian epic, and it was written to teach lessons.
Okay.
And the people were always being taught by the gods. But this story starts with Gilgamesh, and he is the prince of this village, and he's getting very arrogant. So the gods send down someone to challenge him and straighten him out. And that guy's name was Enkidu. Well, Enkidu gets in a fight with a god, and he is terminated. And Gilgamesh is just crushed by this. So he spends his life looking for eternal, immortal life. And he has all kinds of adventures, very reminiscent to the Odyssey and the Aeneid.
Sort of the template for those stories.
Yes, very good template. That's good. But Gilgamesh looks and looks and looks, and he runs into people, and he's trying to find immortal life, and he runs into this man named Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim is the man who survived the great flood.
Okay.
And Gilgamesh said, "How did you do it?" He said, "I built an ark."
Okay.
I built an ark. And the description of surviving out there on the waters goes on and on about 40 days. And the last 12, 14 lines in there are identical virtually to Noah and the flood.
Okay.
So somebody said if God wrote the Bible, he plagiarized it. Yeah. You can't tell the difference between Noah, which is written 2,000 years later, and Gilgamesh was written about 3,000 BCE. By the way, Noah finds eternal life in a plant, and he's exhausted, and he falls asleep, and a snake comes along and takes eternal life. That's the end. And the gods are saying, Gilgamesh and you ordinary people, you cannot have immortal life. That's reserved for the gods, for us.
Okay.
And that's the lesson they're teaching. Because back in those days, the gods ran everything. You were just nothing but a peon. And if you wanted to be happy, you did what the prince or pharaoh, whatever they said, like build a pyramid, whatever, and he will protect you from the elements and from plagues and all this bad stuff. So that was the message of that epic, and it goes down through the ages. This is 3000 BC. We're going further down now. And all those years, a human being has nothing. He's worth nothing, except he's performing the combat myth. The pharaohs and the princes and everybody's kings said, well, if you build me a pyramid, I'll protect you from the elements, from plagues and droughts and locusts and all these things. And so, not knowing any difference, the people said, okay, I'll do it. They had no choice. They lived on the average of about 25 years old, and their only purpose was to serve the gods. Now, this went on for 2,000 years, give or take. Man, I'm sure glad I wasn't there.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it was that much of a fun time.
You had nothing. Then along came what I call the first humanist, Zoroaster, the Persian prophet.
Okay.
Now, Persia then is what Iraq is today, and the Tigris-Euphrates River is very central. Some say that's the Garden of Eden, Well, I don't. I kind of doubt that there ever was a Garden of Eden. But Zoroaster came along and he looked at what they had around there, and he said, "This isn't right." And he said, "Man is born free. You can do anything you want in your life. Men and women are equal. Everybody's equal. Do what you want, but you will be accountable."
Mm-hmm.
And he's the first man to ever say anything like that. I mean, there's going to be a heaven and a hell, and there's going to be a final judgment, and there's a devil around to tempt you.
Okay.
This is the first mention in history of a devil. And final judgment, a great upheaval, and that's where this end of the world comes from.
Okay.
Modified many times over from Zoroaster, the prophet. And how did these ideas get to the West? Well, they got to the West primarily when the Jews were exiled there. And this was about...
So as they spread, those ideas came with them.
Yes.
And worked into the cultures that they were part of. Or
Zoroastrianism was very popular with the Persians. And why not? Now I've got a chance. Mm-hmm. I can earn my way to a better station if I behave myself.
So that was the advantage to that, is that before you were basically just sort of fodder for the kings, and Zoroaster said, no, you make a difference and you'll get judged at the end by somebody other than the king. So
exactly.
I can see the appeal moving on to that myth, because you move on from being just basically someone that they can...
Nothing.
Yeah, you got nothing, you can be taken away.
Serve the pharaoh, the emperor, work hard, and you'll be saved. There's no soul or anything like that. You have nothing.
Okay.
And Zoroaster brought hope. You're born free. You can choose the life you want. This is up in Persia now.
Okay.
And when the Jews are put into exile, you maybe heard of the Babylonian captivity.
Mm-hmm.
That was this. Nebuchadnezzar came and conquered the Jews, and he hauled about 50,000 of them back to Persia.
Okay.
And what were they doing in Persia? They were teaching and adopting and loving Zoroastrianism.
Okay.
Zoroastrianism. And then the Jews were there about 50 years in Persia. And then Cyrus the Great, he's put in the Bible today for that.
Mm-hmm.
He let the Jews go.
Okay.
And to them, that was a sure sign God was on their side.
Okay.
But they brought back some ideas. And this is one of the themes we're dealing with here. Innovation is not so much discovered or revealed as it is borrowed.
You take the good ideas from the other guys.
You take what you want, you adapt it and modify it, but you never give credit to that other person. No. What'd they have to do it? So you look in the Bible, after exile, you see a devil, whom the Jews called an adversary, and you see apocalyptic visions. This was Zoroaster's teaching, appeared to Daniel, and the angel said that I see a vision for your people. There's never before in the Bible, Old or New Testament, any precedent for this, a vision from somebody reporting. And I mean, it's an angel. It's always an angel. Well, that idea came from Zoroaster, who claimed he had a vision, just like about 2,955 others throughout history. So they brought back that idea, and the only course had been to serve the king, and now you could earn your own way to a better life. Everybody liked it. Everybody liked it. And there were the kings. The kings sat and watched and said, hey, that's a good idea. And Zoroaster died and didn't come back. He's supposed to come back. And he didn't come back, and he didn't come back, and he didn't come back. And so the kings got an idea. We'll put our astrologists and our great scholars to work on this. And they did. And you know what they came back with?
Yeah.
You'd never guess. Yes, Zoroaster is coming. But he's coming 3,000 years from now.
Oh, the first of the prophecy
sort
of things.
3,000 years from now. And so what do you suppose they said about the meantime?
In the meantime, they get to be in charge.
Well, you are one hell of a bright student.
Yeah, you could kind of see that coming. Because
that's
the guy
what
said,
happened.
well, we've got the good life. I think we can figure out this story and make it work our way.
The scholars say that Zoroaster gave permission for us to shepherd you. And you know, throughout history, the king he ruled his people in the name of God. And if you questioned the king, you questioned God himself. Now, you don't want to do that. And you know that's still going on today. Look at Syria. What's the excuse for all this slaughter? Well, I'm working in the name of God. What did Osama say? Well, Osama, how do you explain all the deaths of children and women? And Osama said, it is the will of Allah. It is the will of Allah. This goes all the way to today. You rule in God's name. I have God's word. So they had Zoroaster's word, and they said, well, you be good, and you'll, just obey what I'm saying, and so forth. You'll be rewarded or punished. These ideas came to the West, brought back by the Jews. Innovation is not so much discovered as it is borrowed, or discovered, not revealed.
Or stolen sometimes, just sort of.
Pardon me?
Stolen.
Oh, yeah. It's always stolen. They would say borrowed, but you modify it to suit you. That's good for the king. The king was going to rule, and he might as well rule in God's name. And you behave and follow God's word, and you'll be saved. Same concept, same chapter, different book. Well, these ideas that Zoroaster had became in the West well-known references, entities. Zoroaster talked about Ahura Mazda. That means Lord of Life. Well, Ahura Mazda became modified in the West to be Yahweh, to be Jesus, and to be Allah. They saw the idea and they borrowed it.
Sure.
Of course, you never tell anybody. You won't find this in the Quran or the Bible or anywhere. By the way, there's no mention of a devil in the first 5 books of Judaism.
No.
The Pentateuch, no devil mentioned. No, and the snake in the garden was not a devil. He was just an evil reptile.
Just an evil, I noticed that they backfill that concept in there.
Oh, do they ever. It's the whole story of history. But history is never taught in the whole. And the only true history is total history. And that's what we're doing here tonight. Okay, pick up the story. So Ahura Mazda becomes Yahweh, and Ahriman becomes the devil in Christianity, the Iblis in Islam, and becomes the adversary in Judaism. They call him the adversary, capital A. You'll see this after exile. You will not see it before. After, not before. So innovation is not so much discovered. And so then we go to the next stage, the revelation in the Bible. And the revelation told this horrible story of the 7 apocalypse and the 7 horsemen of evil and all this, and people are scared to death of it. Well, we know why John, it was not John the Apostle, we know why he wrote this, because he was really peeved at the Emperor Domitian, who exiled him. John wrote this, they call him John of Patmos. John wrote this while he was in exile. And the whole story of Revelation ends with the whole world will end and the Domitian, the evil man, will be taken with it. And it's going to happen by 100 AD, or Common Era. And of course it never happened. And so many people really follow Revelation. It's just a borrowed story. John of Patmos just took the story and modified it to suit himself. And who saves everybody? Jesus comes and saves everybody. And people say, we've been waiting for you, Jesus. Yes, I am coming. I will come again. And there's the story repeated. Now I repeat, the Revelation was written about 95, 96 AD, or current era is the correct way to say it now. End of the world, so forth. So there it gets a tremendous boost for the Bible. But I don't know, did anyone ever tell you that that the only gospel that carries it is John. The other three do not carry, was not canonized, the story was not.
No, they don't.
They didn't, and the apocalyptic, the Orthodox Christians don't include Revelation at all. They don't.
Yeah, I know there's some controversy around that book. There, throughout Christian history, that they are ambivalent about that particular book of the Bible.
Some aren't so subtle.
Okay.
Thomas Paine, he wrote Common Sense. He said it's a book written by a maniac. Not too subtle.
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson went all through the Bible and cut out parts he said could never have happened. And of course, Revelation was one of them.
Yep.
So our founding fathers were, yes, Christians, but not all of them believed the whole story, that's for sure.
Okay.
So now, any questions?
No, just keep we're about halfway through. So
okay.
That's where we're at on that. So, that's getting us sort of moving into at least what we consider the common era. So is there a gap? So what fills in the gap, or does the Christian sort of take over then in how people start looking at the end of the year? Because then, they of course date the calendar post-haste back to the birth of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And I know that there was some that around the year 1000 was an interesting time where they were thinking...
There were a group, and I don't remember their name. The best known person in between is William Miller. Miller lived in the mid-19th century. Now, I'm not saying there aren't or weren't others, but I don't know that kind of detail about all through the ages.
Okay.
The Christians took over after the fall of Rome, and I suppose they kept the Revelation. I know darn well they did.
Right.
But the best known 19th century person is William Miller.
Okay.
Now, Miller fought in the War of 1812. And a couple people, soldiers, near him were killed, and he was spared. And he said, that for sure is the will of God. And he began to think that he's chosen by God. And he read Daniel very carefully. And he worked out some sort of esoteric analysis that said, the world's going to end in October 1843, and it spread like wildfire. All kinds of people believed him, and of course there were things for sale.
Yeah,
you got to be ready for the load. And they sold ascension gowns, even full funny beards.
Okay,
be ready for Jesus. You want to look like him. You want. And everybody. I don't know what they did for shelters in those days, but everybody was preparing for this. Then the day came, October 23rd or somewhere around there, in 1843. Lo and behold, nothing happened. Well, Miller said, I miscalculated. I didn't allow for leap year.
Okay.
So he said it's coming next October. No luck, it didn't come. Didn't come. And of course, there are all kinds of things for sale to be ready for Jesus when he comes. By the way, did you ever hear that the Mormons have huge warehouses painted white just outside of Salt Lake City? That's food for their people between the end of the world and the coming of Jesus. So it's all around us, the people who believe it. Now I'll get into some current, recent warnings before 2012.
Okay.
We had Gulf War I, Gulf War II,
right.
Y2K, you remember that?
Y2K it's fun to go back and look at some of that stuff. Because the computers can't handle the 4 digits.
Some guy in Iowa sold everything he had and moved to a basement someplace, fortified basement. I don't know his name, but I just remember that. And the Left Behind series, you've heard of that?
Oh yeah, I've read the Left Behind series.
God.
I checked it out from the library because I wasn't going to send him money, but
You did?
It's very badly written fiction. The thing about Christian fiction, they don't write enough of it, so it's not very good.
Oh, it's glossed over.
It's
all glossed over. For example, National Geographic has published a book 2 years ago or whatever it was called The Letter and the Scroll, and they talked about the Epic of Gilgamesh, but they made no reference to the utter similarity, copied story of Noah.
Okay.
See, that's stepping on Christianity. Okay, I gotta get going again. Now we are in the Maya calendar.
Sure.
And 2012, and the day is December 21st. And that's the day of Armageddon.
Right.
And it has just gone bonkers, mostly due to websites. And I have heard that there are 400,000 at least, maybe 4 million.
That wouldn't surprise me at all talking about this crazy stuff.
Oh my gosh. And I just want to tell you now, Scott, I'm going to tell you some of the things that are being done right now. For example, one of the most popular items is are silos, hardened missile silos from the Cold War. And they're selling them, and for you, we'd get a special deal. They're selling them for $1,750,000 a floor. That'll get you one complete floor.
Complete floor in an old-fashioned ICBM
missile
silo.
Super.
Okay.
That comes with 4 years supply of dried foods.
Okay.
And it comes with water. I don't know how they're storing that. Some sterilized container, I'm sure. Well, it's none of my business. But this guy said there's this TV special, and there's one going on tonight.
Okay.
About a couple in Texas have stored 50,000 pounds of food waiting for the end. It's going to come, brother. It's going to come, Brother Scott. I'll tell you.
Oh, my.
Silos. And the guy said for everyone we sell, we get invitations for 3 more.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
You think that's weird?
I think they found a scam.
Well, there are websites up all over where you can buy supplies for the end of the world. And adaptations, just like the gold rush. The people who looked for gold didn't get rich, but the people who sold the axes,
the supplies,
and hammers and shovels, they got rich. That's what they're doing all over. Perhaps the most unique one is a guy named Peter Gersten. Now they'll never tell where they are, but he's got it all figured out. If you can't believe it, neither can I. But I watched the video, and I think it's pretty accurate. He's got it figured out. There's going to be a gap between the coming of the new world and the exit of the old. And this man is going to climb to a high place, and just at the right time, he's going to jump into the new world.
Okay, you saw my quizzical look at that. It's like, no, I read crazy things.
That really shocked me.
But that one is a little weird.
Some are panning gold because that'll be the only good currency after the coming of the world. And they had an interesting guy on there from NASA, Daniel Morrison. And Mr. Morrison said, they asked him about this. And he said, what do you want me to say? He said, this is utter nonsense. And he said, I thought he summed it well, my opinion. He said, as long as there's money to be made, there will be an end of the world coming. And you know what? The Long Rangers already have the next one coming. 2312. How do you know that? Well, we know there's an asteroid way, way out there, and it's coming.
Okay.
So they're all anchored in for the next one already. Those are just some of the things that are going to have. Now I'll go. How much time do we have?
We got about 2 minutes.
Whoa!
Yep. So, just jump.
All right, I'll jump to the end of this. How is the world really going to end scientifically?
Yeah, let's get to what the real thing is.
Well, I can't go very deep into that, but this is what the scholars, the cosmologists believe, that it will end with either a big crunch, and all the world is flying out, and it will come back down and crunch.
Yep.
Or, which is more common now, it will end with a big rip because the acceleration of outbound
Okay.
is distinct.
Okay.
They think it's dark energy, they call it. But it'll go so far and everything will fly apart.
Okay.
Big rip. So you better, I don't know how you prepare for that. I'm sorry.
I think that's a couple of million years
It's
or even longer than
a couple,
that.
3 to 4 billion.
Okay.
That's what, so you can relax.
I can relax. I don't think I have to worry about my retirement being
have
that
a beer
long.
tonight, don't. Yeah. Well, I have some.
We've been putting books up on the screen that you can
Okay.
take a look at. Mark's got 4 of them we put up there. Cosmos, Chaos, and the World to Come by Norman Cohn.
That's the best one on Zoroaster.
Okay, River of God by Gregory Riley.
Oh, that book is fantastic. It says God is a river with many branches.
Okay.
Tributaries.
The Universe by Hubert Reese.
That is a nice, succinct little book, starting with the Big Bang, going all the way up to.
So just a
modern
quick
humans.
summary.
It's
of
very,
everything.
very readable.
Okay,
very readable.
and then the Grand Design,
Grand Design,
by Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. He says the universe emerged spontaneously.
Okay.
Spontaneously. That's his latest calculation.
Okay, so
And
those are
get
good
into it.
sources.
It's exciting.
It sounds really fascinating stuff. I mean, the reason I decided to dive in and read the Left Behind series was that it was just I wanted to see what they were talking about on that. They originally proposed that series as a 3-novel series, but once the first one sold so well, they decided to stretch it out to 12. And definitely in some of those books, you can see the stretch marks. So the first one is really interesting in just getting the concepts off, but it's still, unfortunately, really bad fiction. So if you want to get the basics on it, torture yourself with the first one, and you really don't have to go beyond.
I have had no interest.
And I don't blame you on that one at all. So, but there've also been fun secular, ends of rows where you talk about, post-apocalyptic, nuclear war. Classic book called The Last Babylon, a science fiction novel from late 50s, early 60s, back in the height of the Cold War, did that. There was the movie The Day After that was around on television that was really controversial, where they showed a nuclear attack, and that was just, things. So you can play with those, but it doesn't really end. It just sort of stops something and moves forward. So you can still play with those concepts.
Well, the end of the world, or say one way it's going to end is that the rotation of the Earth is going to reverse, and then it's going to cause all kinds of tidal waves. So you better be in a really high place. So,
well, we've given you a lot to think about. So appreciate you coming on the program, Mark. As usual, you've given us the bigger picture so that we can see that, this craziness has been going on for a wee bit, and we can just sort of settle back and watch the funniness.
The only true history is total history.
Yeah, and I like the other quote that you had is that unless the first cause is known, there cannot be a complete understanding. By an Anglican bishop of all people.
Yes,
so
16th century.
Thanks again, Mark.
Yes.
So for more information on us, the Humanists of Minnesota, you can go to our website at humanistofmn.org, and you can find older versions of this program, as well as information on our group. So go check that out. And if you want to let us know what you think of the program, so you can contact us by email, by phone, or one of those old-fashioned letter things that you write on in mail. We'd love to hear what you think of the program. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Humanist Views. I'm Scott Lohman. Good night.